everyone, it's Chanel Summers here.
Hello everybody, Jackie Graves, nice to meet you.
Hey everyone, Megan Secord here, and we are The Collective.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe, otherwise known as Ed Gough Jr. Here, I'm the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As I say, it's the home of epic conversations. I host epic conversations. I've done over 2,000 online conversations over the last, 10 and a half years. I won't bore you because I can spend another 5 minutes, but the ladies want to ask me questions for some strange reason. I also host and co-produce monthly online conversations for fathers that are co-sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization and Dove Men Care. 2018, I received the Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I am an 8-year contributor, weekly contributor to a website called The Good Men Project, which is one of the most viewed sites in the world for men. The site itself gets 3 million unique visitors a month and 6 million page views a month. Way back when I used to have hair, I had this is relatable. I have a background in college radio, long before this sort of stuff, and I loved college radio. Had a great experience, and when I graduated from university, I said to myself, so happy, don't have to write essays again, don't have to read books that have nothing to do with me again. And back then, I was walking along St. Clair Avenue West and Dufferin in Toronto, and there used to be a bookstore there called Burke's Bookstore, and great couple, Sam and Rita Burke. They're actually now running a Toastmasters club. They've been doing it for the last 10, 15 years, called Ebony Toastmasters. Went to their store, and there was a book called Black Men, Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. Stories of transition of the African-American family. So I pulled it off the shelf, read a chapter. I said, you know what? I want to buy it. I read that book in one night. And I said to myself, some way, somehow, with the experience I have online, or even just in the radio business, even if it was college radio, I would get or provide a platform, back then, a safe platform, not a safe and brave platform like today, for Black men, and especially back then, Black Canadian men who could speak and share their story. Because I was tired, even from a young age, looking at the traditional media and seeing Black men either portrayed as entertainers, and even if they're a sports athlete, they're an entertainer because they're getting paid to perform, or unfortunately involved with the criminal justice system. And I started off at my dining room table with another gentleman, and all I had was a laptop and a dream. And that's how it started, no different than a lot of people have today. I started off with a laptop and a dream, and we started for about 6 months. I got tired a little bit of it, and we quit for a while because I believe that most great things have a birth, death, and resurrection. So we took some time off and then started doing it again. And I said, people are going to get tired of listening to me all the time. Who else can I get? And I don't like to make things complicated. I said, okay, let me just get some of my friends to come on. And I literally used to go over to dinner parties, bring my laptop, bring my blue snowball microphone, for those people who know what one of those are, and just put my laptop, put on the record, and just stick the mic on the table, and we would just talk about conversation topics. And after a period of time, I said, you know what? Okay, what can I do next? So then I said, let me start having people on the Dr. Vibe show who I don't know. And I reached out to a gentleman named Mike Williams. And Mike Williams was the first Black Canadian VJ on Much Music back in the day. Mike Williams lived all the way in Hamilton. And at that time, I did all my conversations face to face. I hadn't really done the online thing yet. And I said to myself, okay, Mike lives all the way in Hamilton. If I drive from Scarborough, where I live, to Hamilton, and I hit like Mississauga, and he calls me and says, I got to cancel, I've wasted that time just getting out there. I then, long story short, through a gentleman in the United States, Ray Ortega, who was a great show called The Podcaster Studio. I reached out to him. Within 24 hours, he turned around what my podcasts were like back then. And then he connected me with a gentleman, Mike, can't remember his last name, who lives in North Carolina, who had 30 years of audio engineering experience. And he spent 6 hours via Skype with me, getting me a mixer and getting all my technical aspects set up. And when I first spoke to Mike, he's an older North Carolina guy, says, Dr. Vibe, if you want to have more people on your show, you need a mixer. I said, Mike, the only mixers I deal with is when I go to a club and see a mixer. He says, but you know what? He knew more than I did, and he had the experience. So I shut up and listened. And that was the early years of the Dr. Vibe show. My work with fatherhood, up until recently, and I'll be totally transparent, I was laid off, but I was working at Canada's only father-focused family center, and I was doing program coordination there. But more than that, in regards to opportunities from speaking at the Northwest Territories, I spoke at a number of online fatherhood events. I actually had to give a sermon for a church online this year for Father's Day. And there's been a number of great opportunities to just share and care when it comes to fathers and their families. So this is, as I said, a lot of this has happened during the C time, and it just never stops. Probably one of the most marginalized groups in North America are Black men and also Black fathers. Now, there is the stigma about Black fathers, and you know what? There are some not good Black fathers. I've worked with some of them, but there are a lot of good Black fathers. And I'm a firm believer that the better the father is, the better the child or children will be, the better the family will be, the better the community will be, the better the province, the better the country. Right now, and I mentioned this during the CTV News Channel conversation, it's a double whammy for a lot of Black fathers right now. First of all, economically, a lot of them are not working. And on top of it, the racism, and the racism has always been there. Let's be real. It's been here for over 400 years plus. It's always been here. But now, because of the George Floyd incident, it's got amplified. Now, this is my thing with the George Floyd incident. There's been many of those. It's just that his got seen. Can you imagine if we didn't have these things right now? How much stuff we wouldn't know about that goes on? As I said, just a thought. Right now, there are a lot of conversations that are going on, but what needs to happen is action. This has been going on for a long time. And there are a number of Black people out there say, you know what, we're tired of talk. We know it's existed. You know it's existed. And if you didn't, you know now. What are you going to do? The marching is great, but once the march finishes, what's next? Right? As one of my good online friends says, time never lost a fight. So that's why I'm very passionate about it. And I like to put myself in those so-called uncomfortable situations because I want to hear and listen. Because I said, the more I know it, the more I need to know. And I think that right now, then the next few years are going to be critical for the next hundreds of years. I had a conversation with a lady who's a regular named Serena Wills. She lives in the Washington, D.C. area. And it's about 2.5 months ago, she said, she's a single mother with an 8-year-old, and her 8-year-old is such an amazing guy. And her 8-year-old came up to her and said, Mommy, how can I trust someone asking them a question if I don't know them? And that really hit me, for an 8-year-old to be impacted and know what's going on in the world, especially these days in regards to racism. That really had one of those moments where I went, wow, like it's really getting down there. And again, creating that safe and brave space where people are able to share those stories. Because when they are able to share those stories, it's not for me. It's bigger than me. And be able to be comfortable to share those kind of stories of everyday life that that 8-year-old's experiencing, that mother's experiencing, many of us are experiencing. That's just one moment that I've had in the last little bit that have just been wow. And so what I do is, first of all, I filter people ahead of time. So we have conversations ahead of time because I want to make sure that I get along with them and they get along with me. And if they say something that I don't agree with or don't understand, I ask them to go a little bit deeper. And there's nothing wrong with disagreement as long as it's respectfully handled. Right? We're not we're not always going to agree with each other. I'm sure the collective doesn't always agree with each other, but but the thing is, I like disagreements at times because it stretches me and says, you know what, maybe I've got to think about that in a different way. It's more the way I handle it more than the content that comes out. Right? If we agree to disagree and we handle it in a great manner, I'm fine with that. But if there's something and you're being really rude and impolite, I cut. And I've only had that experience. I don't know if I've had that experience maybe once or twice where I just ended a conversation. No, it's very rarely happened. And as you said the word interview, as Chanel knows, I don't do interviews, I do conversations. I want to have a conversation, I don't want to have an interview. So after COVID hit, I had the opportunity to go to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. I was invited by their the Northwest Territories Social Service Department to attend a 3-day conference for all their frontline workers on helping families in that area. And they asked me specifically to talk about engaging fathers. And one thing I didn't get a chance at, I am a fatherhood and manhood advocate. And that was a humbling experience to be me, a person of color, sharing with frontline workers who are either white or indigenous about engaging with their fathers in their area. And that was really amazing. But the gentleman who hosted the conference, within 2 minutes, grabbed me. He said, we want to have a safe and brave space. We have all heard about safe space. Yeah, it's great to have a safe space, but you want to have a brave space, safe and brave space. So I have been really blessed over the last few months as a Black man to be able to host conversations, whether it's online or face-to-face, with people who look like me and people who don't look like me in regards to this area of racism, Black Lives Matter. I'm a firm believer that if we get better, we all get better. It's not just one group gets better for the whole world. We all get better. And I'm a person that says the more I know, the more I need to know. So I just host these conversations and also take part in those conversations, but I want to listen so I have the opportunity, and I'm blessed by the Lord above to share these messages with people all around the world.